So Mark, my husband at the time, yeah, that Mark, called me, wait for it, financially useless. Can you believe that? Financially useless. And then, just to really twist the knife, he left me. Not just left me, but left me for Chloe, my secretary. My secretary. I was sitting there, looking at the divorce papers he'd sent over, and my hands were just shaking. Not just a little tremor, but really trembling, you know? Like I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. And those words, financially useless, they just jumped right off the page at me. Mark's statement in the papers said something like, "Wife has consistently shown financial incompetence and an inability to contribute meaningfully to our marriage." Seriously, me, Olivia, at 32 years old after being married to him for 6 years. I never in a million years thought he'd say something like that about me. Especially not when I was right there, on the absolute cusp of selling my tech startup, the one I built from scratch, down here in Austin. The irony it would have been, hilarious if it didn't hurt so much, you know? Like a punch to the gut. I remember looking up through the glass wall of my office, my own office in the company I founded, and seeing Chloe sitting out there, giggling at something on her phone. She'd been acting so weird lately. Taking these long lunches, whispering on the phone, suddenly super interested in all the details about our company's potential sale. And seeing her there, with this fancy designer bag I hadn't seen before, and brand new shoes pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place, and it made my stomach clench. Then, a little notification popped up on my laptop, dragging me back to reality. Another email from the team handling the acquisition. The deal was almost done. We were talking about $1.5 million for my software company, the one specialising in AI-driven market analysis. I'd kept the negotiations pretty quiet. Not because I was being secretive, but because I learned early on that actual results speak. Way louder than hyping things up. Mark, with his real estate background, he just never got it. He always dismissed my work as me playing with computers. He never understood what I was building, not really, and honestly he never even tried. He called it a little project, even as we were getting major clients and real recognition in the tech world. It was always just my little project. Olivia? Chloe's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. She was poking her head into my office. Mark called. He said he's sending someone to pick up his stuff this weekend. Thanks, Chloe, I managed to say, keeping my voice completely flat. I saw it then. This subtle little smirk played on her lips as she turned away, and I caught the light hitting her wrist, a new diamond bracelet, the same style Mark's mum had given me for our first anniversary. My heart just sank a little more. I turned back to my laptop, pulling up the secure folder with all our company documents. First thing tomorrow, absolutely first thing, I was revoking Chloe's access to everything. Standard procedure for someone. Giving notice, which I was positive she'd be doing any minute now. Those divorce papers were still sitting there waiting for my signature. Mark wanted it fast, clean. Irreconcilable differences, and my supposed financial ineptitude. Little did he know, while he was busy planning his exit, I was closing the biggest deal of my entire professional life. I reached for my pen, and this weird sense of calm just washed over me. It was like sometimes, the best way to respond to people is not to respond at all. It's just to let them show you exactly who they are. 3 days later, I was sitting in this super sleek office, downtown Austin with my attorneys, one for the divorce, one for the company sale. We were finalising everything all at once. It felt almost poetic, you know, signing away my failed marriage with one hand and securing the future of my company with the other. Miss Kennedy, Barbara, my corporate attorney, asked, peering at me over her glasses. You understand that by not contesting the divorce and by not disclosing the pending sale, Mr. Harrison will have absolutely no claim to your business assets. I just nodded. I remembered the night, maybe 6 months ago, when I first started to suspect something was off. Mark was working late, more and more, and Chloe, she started asking really strange questions about how we valued the company, who our investors were. That's when I hired a private investigator, not because I was jealous, though seeing the photos later, yeah, but because I needed to protect my intellectual property. The pictures of Mark and Chloe having private lunches, they were almost secondary to my worry about corporate espionage. Almost. I understand perfectly, I said, signing another document. Mark made his choice. He genuinely believed I was... I paused, actually quoting his words, and couldn't help. A tiny, humourless smile, financially useless. I saw no reason to correct that assumption. The company buying us out had been crystal clear. Absolute confidentiality until the deal was closed. Even my team didn't know yet, though I knew they'd be thrilled with the retention bonuses I'd negotiated for them. Well, most of them would be thrilled. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from David, my VP of engineering. Chloe just resigned, effective immediately, says she's pursuing an exciting new opportunity. Right on schedule, I murmured under my breath, which got a curious look from Barbara. Should we be concerned? She asked. I just shook my head. No. Just the entirely predictable departure of someone who thinks they've found a better opportunity. I didn't bother mentioning that. I'd already transferred all of Chloe's system access to a monitored account, just in case. You learn pretty quickly in the tech world that you need to be prepared for people leaving before they even do it. Later that afternoon, I overheard 2 of my developers talking. They were saying Chloe had been bragging about some brilliant investment opportunity. Something about exclusive real estate deals that would double investors' money in months. Oh, that gleam of easy money, I recognized it instantly. It was probably what had attracted Mark in the first place. They were kind of perfect for each other in that way, weren't they? Both so desperate to get rich quick they couldn't see the actual value in building something real, something lasting. I turned back to my computer, pulling up the final checklist for the acquisition. Let them chase their fantasies of easy money. I had a company to sell and a future to build. The acquisition deal closed on a Thursday afternoon. I was standing in our office kitchen, watching my team celebrate with champagne. Seeing their faces light up when I announced the retention bonuses, it was incredible. I felt this deep, warm sense of accomplishment. Not just for the sale itself, but for building this thing, this real thing, this valuable thing. To Olivia, David, our lead developer, yelled out, raising his glass. To the best boss who never once mentioned she was secretly a genius millionaire. The room just exploded with laughter and applause. I smiled, thinking how completely different this was from Mark's dreams of instant wealth. He was always talking about hitting it big with some clever little scheme or insider tip. He just never grasped that true success, the kind that lasts, usually comes from years of hard, careful work. My phone buzzed. A message from Emily, my divorce attorney. Divorce finalized. Harrison didn't contest anything. Congrats. You're officially single and significantly wealthier. I was just about to text back when Alex from accounting came rushing over, his face red, practically vibrating with excitement. And it definitely wasn't just from the champagne. Olivia, you won't believe what I just heard, he whispered, leaning inconspiratorially. Jessica, my friend at First City Bank, says Mark just took out a massive loan against all his properties. He's basically liquidating everything to invest in some exclusive opportunity. Alex made air quotes with his fingers. Apparently, Chloe convinced him she had inside knowledge about our company's proprietary trading algorithms. I kept my face totally blank, even as this information sank in. Chloe. Access to our actual AI technology? Never. What she'd seen was just the front end, the user interface we showed clients. But of course she wouldn't tell Mark that, would she? That's interesting, I said calmly, taking a slow sip of my champagne. I'm sure they know what they're doing. Later that evening, packing up my office, I found an old photo of Mark and me from a company Christmas party years ago. He was looking at his phone, naturally. I was in the background, talking animatedly about a new project with some of the developers. It felt fitting now. He had never really been in my world, always looking somewhere else, looking for something better, something faster. I dropped the photo into the recycling bin. I picked up my laptop. Tomorrow, the integration process with the acquiring company would begin. I had a 3-year contract to keep leading my team, to keep developing our technology, now with the resources of a major tech firm behind us. As I walked out to my car, I saw a text from the private investigator I'd hired. Thought you'd want to know. Chloe just bought one-way tickets to the Bahamas. Solo traveller. I didn't reply. I just turned off my phone and drove home to my new condo up in the hills. I poured myself a glass of wine and stood on the balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky over the tech hub below. Sometimes, success isn't about getting even. It's just about moving forward and letting other people deal with the consequences of their own choices. About 2 months after the acquisition closed, I was deep in meetings about expanding our AI platform. Real, actual expansion, not some fake scheme. When the first cracks started to appear in Mark and Chloe's plan, I was reviewing integration, plans with our new parent company, when Jessica, my former assistant from accounting who told Alex about the loan, called me. "Have you seen the news?" she asked, no preamble. Mark's real estate office, they just announced their closing. "There's a mob of angry investors outside the building." I quickly pulled up the local business news on my laptop, and there it was, a picture of Mark's office with a crowd of people holding signs saying fraud and give us our money back. I recognised some of the faces, other real estate agents who'd worked alongside him for years. Apparently, they all invested in some kind of exclusive investment fund, Jessica continued. Something about proprietary trading algorithms and guaranteed returns. Sound familiar? I muted my phone and just took a long, slow breath. Of course. Chloe had used her connection to me, her position as my secretary, to give their scam credibility. She must have convinced them that working for a tech startup meant she had genuine inside knowledge of some revolutionary trading software. "Thanks for letting me know," I said finally. "But I'm actually heading into a meeting right now about our expansion into the Asian markets." After hanging up, I deliberately turned my attention back to my real work. Our AI technology was turning out to be even more valuable than we'd initially thought, and we were already exceeding our first quarter projections with the new company. I had a responsibility to my team, and now to our new investors, to stay focused on building real things, not getting sucked into the drama from my past. But you can't ignore something like that completely. Over the next few days, more details started coming out. Mark and Chloe hadn't just conned his colleagues, they'd also convinced several of his wealthy real estate clients to put money into their exclusive fund. The promise of these proprietary trading algorithms, supposedly based on insider knowledge from their connection to my company, had just been too tempting for people who wanted easy money. "And Mrs. Harrison?" A voice interrupted my thoughts. I looked up. A detective was standing in my office doorway. "It's Miss Kennedy now," I corrected him gently. "How can I help you?" "We're investigating a potential investment fraud involving Chloe Martinez and Mark Harrison," he said. "We understand Miss Martinez was employed here." I nodded, pulling up Chloe's employment file on my computer. "Yes, she was my secretary for 2 years. Her access was limited to basic administrative functions. She had no involvement with our proprietary technology whatsoever." The detective took notes as I laid out Chloe's role. And when did she resign? About 2 months ago, I said. Right before my divorce was finalised. I handed him a copy of her resignation letter. Everything was documented through HR, perfectly above board. So, he said, looking at me closely, are you aware that she and Mr. Harrison have disappeared with approximately $5 million in investor funds? I kept my face still, giving him nothing. I am now. But I'm not surprised. Chloe was very interested in our company's acquisition talks, though, as I said, she never had access to any sensitive information. I assume she used that perceived connection to add credibility to whatever scheme they were running. He looked at me, a bit puzzled. You seem very calm about this. I just gestured towards the busy office through the glass wall where my team was working on actual innovations. I'm running a legitimate technology company that just sold for $1.5 million and is now expanding globally. I honestly don't have the time or energy to worry about people who chose to believe in get-rich-quick schemes. The next few weeks felt like a cascade of revelations. I was grabbing coffee at my favourite place downtown Austin one morning, and I overheard 2 of Mark's former colleagues talking, practically in tears about their losses. They took everything, one guy said, his voice breaking. My retirement savings, my kids' college fund. Chloe showed us all these fake trading reports, the other replied, sounding devastated. Said we were making 50% returns monthly. How could we have been so stupid? Just because she worked at a tech company, we thought. I quietly paid for my coffee and left. Back at the office, I had more important things on my mind. Our AI platform was expanding faster than we'd even hoped, and I was interviewing candidates to lead our new Sydney office. Real success, built on real innovation. That afternoon, Emily called with an update. The FBI is involved now, she said. Apparently, Chloe and Mark set up shell companies in 7 different states. They're estimating total losses are closer to 8 million. Any sign of them? I asked, mostly just out of morbid curiosity at this point. That account in the Bahamas. Emptied 2 days after they got there, she said. They were last seen boarding a yacht, but surveillance lost them after that. Emily paused. The investigators want to know if you'd be willing to make a statement about Chloe's role at your company. I thought about it for a second. Send them our HR records and my previous statement. Chloe was a secretary who had no access to our technology. Anything she claimed otherwise was fraud, plain and simple. They also found some interesting emails, Emily added. Apparently, Mark was bragging to investors about how he was leaving his financially useless wife just before hitting it big with this investment scheme. The timing is it's ironic, I smiled slightly, remembering those words in the divorce papers. Life often has better timing than we do, Emily. Now I need to prep for my board presentation. We're looking at expanding into medical AI applications. Later. That day, I walked through our office. It felt vibrant. The acquisition meant we could hire more brilliant people, and our technology was growing in ways I'd only dreamed of. On one screen, I saw our AI analysing cancer treatment outcomes. On another, it was predicting climate change patterns. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Local real estate mogul and former tech employee wanted in multi-million-dollar investment. Scam. The article had photos of Mark and Chloe. They looked so polished, so professional, just like in the old company photos, promising these incredible returns based on proprietary AI trading algorithms. David, my lead developer, glanced at my phone screen. It's crazy, isn't it? Hard to believe they thought they could actually fake our technology. People believe what they want to believe, I replied, setting my phone down. Especially when they're looking for easy money. And speaking of money, Michael grinned. The medical AI prototype just passed its first round of testing, The venture capital firms are already calling. I smiled. This was what mattered. Turning my attention to the future, not the mess of the past. While Mark and Chloe had been busy selling lies, we'd been building something real, something that could actually change lives. Okay, I said, let's focus on that. We have a lot of work to do. About 6 months into the integration with our new parent company, I was giving a presentation on our medical AI breakthroughs at a major tech conference in San Francisco. During a break, I was scrolling through my tablet, and the whole story finally broke wide open. The Wall Street Journal published this massive exposé on Mark and Chloe's scam. Details I hadn't even known myself. Miss Kennedy? A reporter from Tech Weekly approached me as I stepped off the stage. Any comment on the Harrison Martinez investment scandal given your connection? My connection, I interrupted politely, but firmly, is limited to running the legitimate technology company they tried to imitate. Our AI platforms are helping hospitals predict patient outcomes and assisting climate scientists. That's what I'm here to discuss. Back in my hotel room, I got an email from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. They'd found evidence that Mark had actually tried to access my company's servers multiple times after I'd revoked Chloe's credentials. Trying to steal actual trading algorithms to cover their tracks, I guess. Our security measures prevented any breach, the agent wrote. But we'd like your team's help tracking their digital footprint through various cryptocurrency exchanges. I forwarded the request to our security team. Of course, we'd help law enforcement. But I had more pressing things on my plate. Our medical AI had just gotten fast-track approval for hospital trials, and several major healthcare providers were lining up to partner with us. My phone lit up with a text from Emily. Thought you should know. They found Mark, airport security. In Santiago, picked him up trying to use a fake passport. No sign of Chloe or the money. I was in the middle of replying when my VP of operations knocked on my door. Sorry to interrupt, Olivia, but the Sydney team just made a huge breakthrough with the climate modelling algorithm. They're ready to demo whenever you are. Set up the call, I said, putting my phone away. The past could wait. The future couldn't. The next morning's headlines told the rest of Mark's story. Chloe had apparently vanished with almost all the money, leaving him to face the music alone. His pathetic attempt to run had failed, and now he was facing extradition and multiple federal charges. During my closing keynote at the conference, I talked about the importance of ethical innovation and creating genuine value. I didn't mention Mark or Chloe by name, but the broader lesson was clear. Real innovation isn't about quick profits or flashy promises, I told the packed auditorium. It's about solving real problems and creating actual value. Success isn't measured in fast money. It's measured in lives improved and problems solved. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when our medical AI platform was awarded Innovation of the Year, the same day Mark was extradited to face charges. While he had chased empty promises and fake algorithms, we had built something revolutionary. That evening, I received another update from the FBI. They'd frozen several offshore accounts, but most of the investor money was gone. Chloe remained, at large, likely living somewhere with millions in stolen funds. I closed my laptop and turned my attention to our latest project proposals. Their story was ending, but ours was still being written. A year later, I was sitting in the courtroom, watching Mark's sentencing. He looked so much older than his 36 years. All that cocky confidence was just gone, replaced by this defeated grey look. The judge did not hold back. "Mr. Harrison," she said, her voice firm, "you have plead guilty to multiple counts of wire fraud, investment fraud, and conspiracy. Your willing participation in this scheme has destroyed lives and retirement savings." She sentenced him to 15 years in federal prison. I didn't stay to watch them lead him away. I had a board meeting to get to. We were discussing the rollout of our medical AI system to 50 more hospitals. Our technology had already helped improve patient outcomes significantly, and the climate modelling division was making amazing progress in predicting extreme weather patterns. The media, of course, had a field day with our story. They called it The Tale of Two Paths, contrasting my legitimate success with Mark and Chloe's fraud. While they had sold lies and stolen dreams, we had built something that was actually making a real difference in the world. Chloe was still missing, presumed to be living comfortably somewhere with the stolen millions. Interpol had tracked her to Dubai, then Sydney, but the trail had gone cold. Mark's desperate attempts to find her, even from prison, just underscored how completely she had betrayed him too. As I drove back to our headquarters in Austin, I thought about how incredibly different things might have been if Mark had ever just bothered to understand what I was building. Instead of just dismissing it as my little project or financially useless. But then, people who are only chasing quick riches rarely recognize real value when it's right in front of them, do they? 2 weeks after Mark's sentencing, I was asked to give the commencement speech at a big engineering school, like MIT or something similar. Looking out at all those bright, eager faces, I saw that same drive, that same determination that had pushed me to build something meaningful. True success isn't about finding shortcuts, I told them. It's about creating real value. The world is full of people looking for quick wins and easy money, but true innovation comes from dedication, from integrity, and from the courage to build something genuine, even when it's hard. After the ceremony, a young woman came up to me holding her diploma tight. "I read about what happened with your ex-husband and your former secretary," she said softly. "It must feel really satisfying to see them get what they deserved." I paused for a moment, thinking about it. "Honestly," I told her, "I was just too busy building something real to focus on their downfall. They chose their path, just like I chose mine." That evening, I got an email from our Sydney team. Our climate modelling AI had just helped a small island nation successfully evacuate before a devastating typhoon hit. Thousands of lives had been saved. Meanwhile, another alert popped up on my screen. Federal authorities had just seized the last of Mark's hidden assets. A mere $75,000 in some forgotten account. As I walked through our office, now spanning 3 floors and employing over 200 amazing people, I felt this deep, quiet sense of contentment. The company that Mark had dismissed as my little project was now valued at over $250 million. And more importantly, so much more importantly, it was actually making a real difference in the world. Sometimes, the best revenge, it's not revenge at all. It's just the quiet, profound satisfaction of building something truly meaningful while others are left chasing shadows.
Share your thoughts below and don't forget to follow the channel for more deep and meaningful stories.